Hello, and thank you for joining me again today. I am going for a fabric trip to Joann. I just got an email with a 50% off one cut of fabric. It doesn't really happen that often to have full prices of fabric that I'm interested in. At the moment, almost the entire store is 25 to 30% off. So I still think that Joann Fabrics sends coupon just to drag you into the store. But realistically, I do not think I'm going to find what I need is a solid full price cut of fabric for 50% off. However, I'm here. Let's have some fun. I usually step into Joann when I need some urgent fabrics. I usually purchase everything online because I'm so familiar with fabrics. I'm going to put in a comment section below a couple of my sources, online sources that I trust, that I work with, and I'm quite happy with, and hopefully you get some inspiration from there. I actually found an amazing twill which I love to use. It's very fluid, it's very full body, it drapes really well. It's a beautiful color. It's a cream light color. Was $16.99 full price with 30% off. I still think comes up quite expensive, so probably I'm not going to buy it today, but I love it. I might have to wait a little longer. Maybe goes into the red tag section for Joann, means more of a clearance, kind of like out of stock situation. I found an amazing knit for sweaters. I do like to make some nice things with this, like cardigans, but it was expensive, and again, I decided not to do it today. I learned over the years to be patient. I used to throw a lot of money on random cuts of fabric. That's how I ended up having a huge collection, fleece including, especially since my kid is asking me to do all sorts of things for him. However, now I'm controlling myself a little bit more. As I walk through Joann, I usually stop a lot through the silk section. I love to work with silk charmeuse, especially this one. It's such a stretchy, beautiful fabric. It's flowy, it's so really easy, and I love to work with it. But again, it's a bit much for me, and I don't think I'm ready to spend that much today, considering that I might be able to find in one of my trusty sources for way under $10. But nice to know it's there and nice to keep an eye on it. Next, I found a luxury fleece that I absolutely love to work with, but it was way too expensive for me. Right next to it, it's a 4-way stretch faux leather. It was $19.99. I've actually purchased some of these before, and I made a pair of pants. I love them, but I lost some weight, and now they look very saggy, baggy on me, and I can't really wear them anymore. Going around, trying to touch fabrics, understanding exactly how they work, I usually go by inspiration for the moment. Right here, this sweater knit, it's amazing. It's so nice and thick. And to be honest with you, I didn't know when I first purchased it, but it's so easy. It's an incredible fabric to work with if you have the right thread and the right machine. Next, I'm going down towards one of my favorite fabrics, which is special occasion fabrics. I found this beautiful organza, still very expensive for me. I can find this on one of my online sources for maybe about $4.99 per yard. So for me, it was slightly too expensive. I loved it, but I decided not to buy it today. Right next to it, as you can see further down the aisle, I found a beautiful mesh for a special occasion dress. Has some beautiful cute pearls on it. What I discovered the last purchase, you have to be very careful and to care really well, because these pearls are falling very easy. So you will end up with missing pearls, and it looks a little bit strange. So yeah, be careful with this fabric. Right next to it, it's a beautiful embroidered butterflies on mesh. I love this fabric for little girls' dresses, but I decided to give it a pass today. Ruffle on a mesh, I found somewhere else for $7.99. It's a beautiful fabric. I love to get my inspiration from Joann. This is where I relax usually. This is where I feel comfortable. This is where I chill, and I walk around for an hour or so, see what new collections are out for fabric. I see if I can find a fabric that is really cheap, that it would be making sense for me. Joann it is for me still a small crafter, beginner sewer store. I would hate to see them closing down, even though I heard rumors about it. But to me, I do not still justify why they're charging 3 to 4 times more for a yard, where I can find this even in a smaller stores. I can find some of my fabrics for $2.99 per yard, $4.99 per yard. And so obviously it makes sense for me not to spend my money here. I love the variety. I love to walk around and touch and feel them. Like for example, this performance spandex was $24.99 per yard, $24.99 even after 30% off. It comes really expensive, but I loved it. The quality of it, it's incredible. I love that you can touch the fabric, understand the texture, see how they behave, pull a little bit to understand how much stretch they have and how you need to adjust for your sewing machine. And this is again a very good source for you to start coming in, touching, feeling fabrics, so you can really learn if you have not been exposed to fabrics before and you just try to get into sewing. Now this Super Shine special occasion, Kasa Collection, it's a very big partner for Joann. They do have a lot of fabrics on the shelf along with the Sew Suite. They do have a large variety of special occasions. I did purchase stuff before from them. They have good quality fabrics. I know they have places where they sell a lot cheaper, but I guess Joann is the one deciding to raise the prices so high. Now, most of the fabrics are still coming from China, so there is not, in my eye, it's not justified. Why would it be so expensive? I still understand the sourcing. I myself been involved for my own brand into sourcing fabrics. I've worked with manufacturers in China, and I understand that they have to sustain the business, but to have 4 times over the actual price, it's affecting me as a buyer. I do not see how I can sustain my business by buying my fabrics at Joann. Every now and then I still step in, I still get a couple of yards each and there, and I still enjoy the new collections. This beautiful eyelash lace that was quite expensive. It's a very thin lace. You can find it for probably about $3.99 online, but Joann is selling it for $12.99 minus 25% off. So still too expensive for my taste. I would not consider buying this unless I have an emergency. What I usually do with this type of lace, I cut little trims out of it and use the eyelash as a finish, either for a dress, for a little girl dress, for the hem, and things like this. Again, I love that they have all these varieties. They arrange them by colors. They kind of try to keep it really nice and organized. You find from the cheapest to the most expensive. You find for different use, but I still think for me, the formal aisle, it's the best aisle. It's the aisle where I feel most inspired. I've worked before with this fabric. I actually made a dress and some trim for some other garments. It's a easy fabric to work with, but it frays really weirdly and stretches out really strangely as well. Tulle is very expensive in Joann. Tulle I normally buy on online source. I think Joann has it for $1.99. Sometimes they can sell it for 99 cents. But considering that for a dress you could need anywhere between 50 to maybe even 100 yards of tulle, that really is not a good source for tulle. Nylon netting, yes, if you do decide to give some volume to the dress and not put so much tulle in it, but I still think it's expensive and the quality wasn't the best. I've seen much stiffer netting that could work much better for your garments. Finally, we're coming down to my absolute favorite place in Joann. It's my lace section. I love this bridal geometric sequin mesh, but for $29.99, I would not make anything other than a sheath dress with this, but I would still need about 4 yards. And so still too expensive for me. because by the time you add the lining, by the time you add the notions, and you want to add your work into it to be able to sell it, it comes more expensive than an actual designer dress that people can buy it somewhere else. So that's why I'm actually trying to stay away from Joann, even though you pretty much sell a dress customized, considering that you have the actual measurements of your client, and so they don't have to spend money on alteration. The dress supposedly would fit absolutely beautiful on them. So this is why I appreciate me working with my clients, because I can give them something customized to their body shape, and most of the clients understand the cost, but would be hard to make some profits with such an expensive lace. But recently Joann improved a lot the quality and the variety in lace. They still have your traditional corded lace, which is very popular in the bridal industry. I don't personally love it that much, but they come up with some other options, a little bit more modern. They didn't have that much before, in my opinion, but they got richer in variety for the past 2 years or so. I've noticed myself the difference, but again, I still think they sell them very expensive. And with only 25% off, I do not see how I can sustain my business in purchasing my laces and my main fabrics from Joann. Sometimes I do purchase lining, even with 30% off coupon. It's still worth for me to do that. The lining at Joann is not that expensive. This one though, I worked with this lace before. I made some dresses. It's beautiful to work with. It's so complimenting. I paired this lace for a dress with a silk charmeuse bottom, and that was such a beautiful dress. The lady was so happy and she was so excited to wear. So this is Joann. This is where I originally started my passion for fabrics, my passion for sewing. This is where everything started for me. I used to drop my kids at school. I used to come back in Joann, pick fabric, see how they drape, how they stretch. I would read how to care for that particular fabric. The disadvantage with Joann is that they're actually not cutting samples. I wish they would, but they don't. But for you in the beginning, it's very easy for you to come and buy 1 yard of this, 1 yard of that. Start small. Joann, it's literally the place where you should come and learn and understand fabric. Joann is the place where you should actually come and see how the fabrics are behaving, touch them, feel the fabric, feel the stretch, feel the weight. Take a cut of 1 or 2 yards of fabric. See how your sewing machine is adjusting to this fabric. Understand how you can manipulate this fabric. You have to learn all those things, but you're gonna have so much fun. As soon as you start this journey, you will see that you absorb, if you love it, you will absorb everything. Don't start throwing a lot of money on expensive fabrics, because in the beginning it's going to be hit and miss. I cannot tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of dollars I spent on fabrics that I didn't know how they behave with my sewing equipment, with me cutting it, with me understanding how to care for the fabric, with me not knowing exactly how to manipulate the fabric into my garment, and was such a mess. So much money I spent just by buying fabrics by impulse. Just buy simple fabrics, buy cheap fabrics. Don't start learning how to sew on embroidered, on sequins, on a very stretchy fabric. Tulle as well is very hard to sew sometimes, so maybe just don't take that as your very first fabric to sew on. There's so much variety of fabric. And remember, Joann also has a red tag section where they retire some of these fabrics that are no longer available from the manufacturer or from the seller. So because it's kind of like a dying down collection, they send it down to the red tag section. Some of them could be anywhere between, I would say, 50 to 80% off. If you're lucky enough to find that section in your local Joann, then you're gonna find some option where normally would be so much more expensive for you, and that gives you the chance to get a fabric for a very small price, so you can start learning how to sew, learn how to control the sewing machine on that particular fabric, applying the exact stitches you need. It's really not a science. I feel like for me especially, I follow my dream. I listened to my heart. I was so excited every time I would touch a piece of fabric, and straight away my inspiration would come. I messed up a lot of fabrics. I messed up a lot of things on the way, but I learned as I did that. I learned out of every mistake I've made. I've learned something in every Joann trip I took, and I've learned something each time from every vlog, from every YouTube channel that I used to follow or that I follow, from every book that I'll put my hands on. I would always learn. I would always try to make sure I get something out of it and put the puzzle together for me. And finally, I got to a point where I'm so comfortable. I can sew almost every fabric. I can sew on every sewing machine. And I'm so excited to tell you that my business is doing so well. I'm having so many projects. I'm doing so many things at the same time. And not only that, I'm also enjoying every step of the way. I wake up in the morning and I cannot wait to draw my kids to school and come back in my sewing studio. It's a journey. Enjoy. Life is short. We should make the most out of every challenge we take. I wish you all the best. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in a comment section below. I will also post a couple of my sources that I'm using to purchase my fabrics. I hope you're successful in your journey, and I'm waiting here for you to join me in my next projects. Take care. Goodbye for now.